Welcome to ViviTalks. I'm Vivienne Aerts. Join me in celebrating 100 talented female musicians from my last album, type of thing. Empowering female cacao farmers in Congo's Virunga State Park and restoring the rainforest. Delve into the musical journeys, creative processes, and unique perspectives of these talented women that were involved in the making of this album. Today, I'm talking to Simona Smirnova. She's a Lithuanian-born jazz vocalist, composer, and kanklės player based in New York City. Simona's genre-blending style has a unique theatrical flavor and uncanny vocal improvisation techniques. She deftly implements chamber music, Lithuanian zither, called kanklės, and folkloric chants into foundations of jazz and rock. And she's the only kanklės player in the United States. Listen to our conversation as we talk about creating music, stepping out of your comfort zone, and finding out who you are as a musician. Welcome, Simona, at my official ViviTalks podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here. And it's so fun that we know each other for a while. You also gave me a sound for my album. We will talk about that in a little bit. But we collaborated on many different ways over the past years. First of all, I love to learn, and the audience wants to know a little bit more about you, your background, where you're from, what do you do, what's your passion? Tell me a little bit about your story.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to re-engage and collaborate again and again in different ways, in musical ways, in community ways, in formal and informal ways. So that's very, very nice and something special, I think, that musicians have, starting from college and then everybody spreading out everywhere in different countries. So about me, I'm originally from Lithuania. It's a small country in Eastern Europe or Northern Europe, depends how you look at it. I was born in a village from a very small place, small town, was born during revolution time, so politically very complicated and complex times in the country, and I was raised right after independence, and Soviet Union collapsed, and I played instruments ever since I was 7. Thank God there were a free educational system to learn music for any child from any cultural and financial background. So that was very nice. So I played piano. I played the Lithuanian traditional instrument that is called kanklės, and it's a string instrument that looks like a harp, and that's the main instrument I've been playing ever since, which is 28 years. So I've been playing classical folk music since childhood, and then singing in ensembles and choirs, learning classical singing. And then when we had a period of punk rock time, which I think kind of is coming back. So, and then when it came down to study music, I chose jazz, and that's where my first like really, really serious love for music started. So after that, I moved to Boston in 2012, which is exactly 12 years ago. I just celebrated my 12-year anniversary a couple of weeks ago. And I studied at Berklee College of Music, where I met you and all our fellow Berklee friends and colleagues. I studied contemporary writing and production, and now I'm living in New York, and I'm combining all these things. And by saying all these things, I actually really mean all these things. So it's playing kanklės, maintaining cultural heritage, but with a modern twist on it, composing music, bringing people around, creating musical communities, stretching myself in creative ways, challenging myself, collaborating. So when people ask who I am, I usually just say I'm a musician and creative. That's like, if there's like a very short conversation, the elevator pitch is a musician. I'm a musician and an artist, but music has definitely been the main profession and the main focus of my life. But I try to incorporate all other things around, which is community building, visual arts, dance, social justice, and just being that vibrant artistic spirit in different circumstances and bringing joy and sunshine to people's lives.
And you do. It's always a pleasure to go to any of your events and shows and see what you have cooked up for us.
Thank you.
It's always a party. Much respect all of that. I love to hear a little bit about all these phases, because I've seen a variety of different Simonas, and I'm just fascinated by it. You got from like experimental performance art with like I remember that music video in you're dressed in green and there's like, yeah, it looks like a fairy tale in a like, what's the landscape? I think that's New Zealand, right?
Yeah, it was New Zealand, and this beautiful, 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 one of the most dangerous beaches in New Zealand, that is called Bethel's Beach. And fun fact about it, that Taylor Swift flew to Bethel's Beach to film her music video, because it's just breathtaking, and it's very harsh in terms of currents and weather changes, because we spent 10 days on the beach, 10 hours, not 10 days, 10 hours on the beach, filming and capturing different elements like rocks and sands and sand and grass and water and wind. And we experienced so many different weather types, because it was sunny and hot and windy and cold, and everything constantly changed. So I definitely have a lot of those eras, I would say, in my life where I would experience something very strongly. And just like childhood, it was mostly classical and pop and folk music. In teenage times, there's a lot of rock and punk rock and that sort of lifestyle. I started when I was in high school. I started punk rock festival in my small hometown. And then I had this epic jazz phase where all I did is just study jazz tradition and learned as many jazz standards as I could and try to educate myself in the history. And then when I was at Berkeley, there was a lot of learning outside of music as well, learning about myself, learning about different cultural differences, because Berkeley is so multicultural. And I feel like now, when I moved to New York, I started combining all of these things into one universe. And I think I'm kind of like on the path to do that. I'm still finding my ways, but I always thought, how can I incorporate my sort of colorful and chirpy personality, which I am, with this internal mysterious aesthetic that I think is within me, coming from Lithuanian folklore, reading tales, seeing plays, reading all sorts of and knowing superstitions, and we being so connected with the nature and its seasons and changes. So this is so deeply internally. It's just in me, and I play an ethnic ancient instrument. So it's kind of constantly speaking like that ancient ancestral spirit is always with me. And the aesthetic of that is very mysterious, kind of like what you described, the archetypes and symbols, protagonists of different fairy tales. Like, they are so with me all the time. And then my personality is like very light and goofy, maybe, and loves to party and laugh loud and dance around on the streets of New York and that kind of thing. And then all these instruments and explorations with theremin and audio and stuff like that. So I always feel like, even from outsider perspective, and you as a musician, you completely understand it, but for people who listening who might be not in artistic field, like, when we see an artist doing something, one thing, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing they do. There's a lot of components within them. And I always saw myself more as a conceptual artist. So it's not that much about the specific style or specific musical genre or instrument. It's more about what's the idea behind and what serves the idea the best. So it's more, for me, different ideas and currents of time that is very important to me. I'm trying to understand and analyze through the lens of audience and through the lens of me. It's kind of not ongoing circle. And then I choose all these different aspects that in my hands. So I have kanklės, I have theremin, I have composition. I've written quite a bit for string quartet. I can dance, I can put a show, I can put a party. So all these things, but they all coexist in this cohesive universe for me. They do not contradict in any way. While from outsider perspective might seem like, oh, they're so different. Simona plays Lithuanian folk songs and then, theremin solos and then dancing on heels in Times Square. So there's like all many things. But for me, it all fits in my mission statement that I've worked through many, like I really thought about it and thought and wrote it and rewrote it again until I actually found the mission statement for myself as an artist. And all these things perfectly fit in the mission statement. And my mission statement is to bring people closer to the nature, to one another, and to oneself. So if at all fits into that mission statement, that is all cohesive artistic expression. So it doesn't matter really to me, is it a punk rock show or is it a string quartet? It's all very natural to me if it serves the general idea that I'm trying to communicate with the audience.
Yeah, I so agree. I think that's very well put. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your creative process and how do you approach writing? Are you writing every day, or is it like you sit down or you have a little notebook or you put it into your phone? What's your process?
I wonder if you can hear the sounds from the street. It has some New York noises. No? Okay, that's great. That's what dynamic microphone is for. The process, well, it changes all the time. I feel like it depends on what medium I'm writing for, or what instrument. So let's say for kanklės, I've published a sheet music book for the kanklės. I literally just sat down at Finale and just wrote everything on my computer. So I just write like the main melody, and then I harmonize and I see what's the voicings. Then I sit down at my instrument and I see what's playable, what's not playable, what's not intuitive. Rewrite. So I think that writing for kanklės and for strings, I've written quite a bit for string quartet also. It's just pretty much at a computer, just sitting at Finale. Maybe I also used to have a violin. Like I took 2 years of violin classes. No one knew about it, but it's a very funny little moment that when I was 16 years old, I thought that I want to be a composer, which was, this is what it is. But I thought that if I want to be a string composer, I always loved strings. I should learn a little bit about the instrument. So I took 2 years of violin. So I would play through certain phrases. And just re-edit or ask some musicians to look over. So I think it's pretty straightforward when I write more of a chamber music sort of setting. When I write my songs for the shows, like the ones you would come and hear in New York me playing, it's always at the piano, most of the time at the piano. So I just like sit down, I mess around with the harmony. It's always at the same time, simultaneous. So I play the chord and I bamboozle around with like gibberish language. I just wonder, like, will Lithuanian come out, or maybe English will come out? And half is like sounds, half is lyrics, and then I just kind of sketch it out. And my sketches look like pretty messy. I don't think no one would understand what they mean, but I understand it. So the songs that I perform myself, that I write for myself, they are usually piano and singing at the same time. And kanklės too. If I write songs that are kind of in the nature of kanklės, I also sit down, I play the harmony. Maybe kanklės is more like pattern driven instrument because you always subdivide with your fingers. So you like look for cool patterns or cool rhythms to play, or also like just harmonies and sounds, and then just like come up with lyrics. So those things, like songs, are very simultaneous. But there's also other things of manifesting creativity. Like I've been dream journaling for the past 20 years, I think. So sometimes I have these musical dreams. I would write them by hand or draw, and sometimes I hear melodies, so I wake up and I just record it in the voice memo, and I refer. Sometimes I hear a specific melodic line, I record it, I forget about it, and then after a year I go through my voice memos and I hear something like because you sleepy voice at night, you don't want to turn on the lights, and you like just buzzing or like humming through the melody, but it's enough to get the idea. um that, and now I'm trying something new. So always, as a band leader, as most of my creative work is leading the project. So I've been lately trying to push myself a little bit and incorporate other people a little bit more in creative process and collaborate more on writing. So, and I would like to participate more in other projects. So like the last single we released a couple of weeks ago, we co-wrote with Maxime Cholet, the drummer. So he produced it. He created so many instrumental lines and did a lot of work on the song. So this has been a very, very new process for me to completely co-write 50-50 with someone and trust someone like that, and also like expose yourself in that way, because it's always easier to bring a polished, more or less finalized lead sheet to the rehearsal than like, oh, it's just an idea and you don't even have lyrics fully, And if those lyrics are, kind of show your vulnerable self, it's like triple mega harder. But I'm trying to go more into that direction and just collaborate with friends and colleagues and new people more and more, because I feel like I learn a lot, and it helps me to like soothe that place in my heart that like it's okay to have things imperfect, it's okay to let other people in, and that's definitely been a new and fresh path for me, and I'm sure you relate in many ways to this.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's so many ways to create, and I think you're
Yeah.
on it. Can
Yeah,
you
creativity. Oh, sorry.
no,
Creativity,
go
just
ahead.
I just add one more little tale. Creativity in general, I think, is that one common thread that goes through life. Like everything else can change. The way we create, the circumstance, the materials, the styles, the instruments, the genres, the cities. But we just have to constantly create something, because that's so beautiful. It's like divine. Is we channel this energy that is unique to us, but also sort of in vibrancy with the time and zeitgeist, and we just feel, and it's sort of like alchemists, we channel that juxtaposition of like ancestral practice and sorrows and dreams and the current things, and we just combine them all and we put into music that speaks to people, or performance that speaks to people. That is just like, wow, it's like superpowers.
Yes, it is. Um, Talking about those superpowers, can you share a significant moment when your music had a profound impact on somebody's life, or a moment that you remember it hit?
Well, that's hard to remember. There's a lot of moments, but I think I have a recurrent theme of, by myself being a bit of a bold and brave personality, I feel like a lot of times I give a green light for other people to try, experiment in a creative way. So like I remember one of my shows when I think I was 19, which was a long time ago, and I had a friend who always sang but never like put it like enough emphasis to singing, and she saw that show and she came up to me and she's like, wow, you opened my mind. I think I'm gonna audition for music school. And she did, and she got in. And it's just like, I feel like there's something about being raw, courageous, imperfect, because it gives people that hope that they can do it too. And it's very powerful. So I think that I had many times, just like this one friend, I remember it because I think this was the first time I heard something like that, because I was very young. But I think that after my events or shows or parties or any sorts of artistic expressions, I feel I hear a lot of times that people feel like, wow, I feel so inspired. I want to be more unapologetic. I want to be more brave. I want to be more bold. I want to experiment more. And I think it's been like the most rewarding thing for me, because creativity in people, it doesn't die. It's there, and if we don't manifest it, it just stays there and transforms into pain, into strange health issues, in resentment, envy, and these things are like poison to us. And I think that everybody should give themselves a green light to find some outlet to be creative. And I've been really strong about this. Like every time when I teach students, I always push them like, how about you create something? What about your take about on this and this? Because I think it's actually life-threatening and dangerous to do not put into work your creativity if you feel it pulsing. You might not feel it, but like I think most people have it in one level or all the other. So I think for me, that's why my mission statement is to inspire people, to bring them closer to themselves as well, because that fire we have, the fire to be authentic, to be seen for who we are, to belong through authenticity, it's all within us. And I think that my music being maybe imperfect musically speaking, but it's really talking and finding connection with people. And I think that's like the best currency I could wish for.
Love it. Talk a little bit more about education, because you teach a lot and you already just mentioned you as a teacher.
Yes.
What's your vision as a teacher, and what kind of students do you have?
So I teach, well, majority of my students are younger students who are now like around 10 years old, maybe 11, 12. And then I do have quite a bit of adult students. So the younger students are the ones I started teaching in New York 6 years ago, and they grew up with me and they will be growing up with me. And their parents and other adult students. So I teach very wide range of students, so it can start from 4 up to like 64, or I think that would be the oldest student I have. So it's a very diverse age, but it's in private lesson setting. But I also give workshops, and I teach kanklės ensembles. I try to bring kanklės into communities. I give talks in like a university or a community center or a church or something like that. So all these teaching experiences, like, very interesting to me. So it's just about sharing that phenomenon of being creative or using the outlets you have, because some people have instruments in their hands, some people just have voices. So overall, as a teacher, I think I kind of like, I'm like in between of being a bit firm and playful. So I always encourage students to be very creative and treat that creativity within them with care and being gentle to themselves, but at the same time take it seriously as a discipline and craft. So I do think that when you approach these sort of might be chaotic things like impulse or creativity, dreams, wonders, it's very easy to get lost. So I tend to systematically put it into prose. Like, okay, so this week you're gonna write these 8 measures, and they're gonna be in 4/4, and they're gonna be in E minor, and you're gonna use just half notes. Just like I give very direct instructions, and then week by week by week we can expand and we can create something more. So teaching has been like a thing in my life for the past 20 years, I want to say, because I started teaching as a volunteer when I was 16 at orphanages. I was teaching guitar and songwriting for the girls, and I was just volunteering. And then I started studying jazz, and then got my first job as a vocal coach for the actors in a state theater, and I was 19. So that's pretty much like, and ever since I was teaching all the time, teenagers preparing for auditions. And I think the fact that I have very diverse scope in singing, like it could be classical, and background is in classical and pop music and jazz, it helps me to have very diverse profile of students. So I feel like it's a good way to give back, to have some sort of consistency, and kind of like understand people around and what's happening around, and keep your heart open and kind and patient, so all these things, I think they're healthy for everyone to do. So yeah, it's been very rewarding. I think that I also worked a lot on building the community, because most of my students here in New York has been with me for 6 years. So we've been having these recitals, Halloween parties, picnics. Like, it's a community I've built, and I'm very proud I'm very proud of it, because it's like 6 years seeing someone every week. It's something, and I hope there's more years ahead of me.
Amazing. Tell me a little bit more about the kanklės, for those that might not know.
Yeah, so kanklės, I'll spell it Kankles, kanklės. It's a Lithuanian traditional folk instrument that looks like a harp or a zither, and it comes from traditional Baltic ancient tradition. No one really knows when it was invented, but first time it was mentioned in the written text in 16th century. So kanklės comes from the tradition of and sort of superstition about death. So when a family member dies, one of the family members would go to the tree and cut the tree and make kanklės shape, which actually I can show. I have one right now. So this is one of mine. That's one of mine designs from my signature line that I just released. So since we have video, I have it here, and I've been tuning
It looks
before it was on the
green.
table.
They're all different colors,
This
right?
one is green. Yeah, not all of them are green.
It looks like
So
a butterfly wing, sort of, right? With strings on
yes,
top.
so yes. So usually kanklės are shaped into, like, they resemble, because it's about death. It transports human soul to one side of the river to another side of the river. So it resembles a cutout canoe or a casket. And that's how kanklės have been over these years. And I just launched my signature line, and following my body of work, following bird language and human connection to nature, we pushed a little bit the design, so it's wings or leaves to have that nature resemblance. So kanklės were small 5, 7, 9, or 12 strings before. My kanklės are 12 strings. And then there's also, in the middle of 20th century, in our academy, there was developed a major so you could study and make it a profession. In 1958, I want to say, they developed a larger kanklės that has 29 strings for octaves, and it has levers, so we can go up to 3 flats and 4 sharps and modulate and, have non-diatonic tones. So because the large instrument is relatively new, it's not even 100. It's about 100 years old. So we could we mostly played repertoire, like piano classical repertoire. That's why a couple of years ago, I published a sheet music book in order to contribute to the repertoire of this instrument. So it's a string instrument. It sounds very soothing. It uses steel strings, so it's not like harp, nylon, it's steel. And it has this like Baltic ancient sound that is mysterious, and I think that brings a lot of that aesthetic into my work, because the instrument is such ethereal and mysterious and has this timelessness in the sound. So that's the instrument I've been playing and trying to incorporate it into my music, whatever that would be: jazz, pop, rock, fusion, whatever I come up with, string quartets. And I'm trying to be the ambassador for the instrument in the US, because I'm the only one currently professionally playing this instrument. So publishing a sheet music book, releasing my instrument line that comes in 5 colors designs, and people can buy here in the US or anywhere around the world. So yeah, it's nice to represent the instrument globally.
Yes, so fun. And yeah, you contributed on the album. There's a sound that you recorded on the kanklės that's made
That's
into
right.
the album. Yeah, so everybody go find it.
Go
It's
find
somewhere.
one
Yeah, I
kanklės.
remember, right? I remember you saying, I don't know where it is. And I'm like, yeah, it's like this and this song, this and this minute, right? I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a lot
like
of different sounds on the album.
what is that idiom? Wait, is there an English idiom? We definitely have a Lithuanian. Finding a needle in a haystack?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
that
that
was
yeah?
it.
Yeah, so that's find kanklės sound in Vivienne's album.
Yes. Well, it's
Nice.
also mentioned in the book, so if you really want to, yeah, you'll find it.
Okay,
Very
nice.
nice. I love
Yeah,
to,
it's very cool
yeah,
how you said like, and you contribute to my album with a sound.
yeah, it was pulling.
A sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I asked everybody to just give me a sound that could mean a lot to different people, which was super fun to discover. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a really
I
cool
used it well.
project.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little. I love because this album is with a lot of women and it promotes female empowerment and stuff. I love to hear you talk a little bit about, stereotypes or things you challenged and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, this has been really a theme in my life, I think, for the past year. I encounter a lot. I think a lot of women live through it in different ways, and there's, a lot of ways it manifests. One thing as being a musician is mostly male dominated field. I studying in school that was all guys. Then I studied a technical major, which would go production classes, and I would be literally one woman in like, like a production class. So there's a lot to it, but also I feel like lately I've been putting a lot of content. So I've been dancing on heels, that is called sexy stilettos or sexy heel dancing. And I've been obviously taking a lot of heat and non-heat and encouragement, coolness and heat, all kinds of things. And it's been a very, very rich journey for me, and rewarding journey, and interesting journey to see how people react to it, and to see what it shows about me and how it unfolds. But one thing is definitely I experience is that people see, like, people want to put women in some sort of box, like, oh, you have to be sexy, or you have to be shy and soft spoken, or you have to be like, be that one thing, and then we understand you who you are. Um and that's okay if if we want to be that. And again, I really resent and dislike that women are pushed to be like, oh, be more confident, or be like less shy, or be more shy, or be submissive, be like good wife, be this, be that, so like it's actually, let the women be whatever they want to be, and manifest and change if they want, change their mind, change themselves, change their styles, change the way they manifest themselves and present themselves in life. We also multidimensional, we change and we wear different hats in different circumstances. So I just think that there's, well, thanks to you that you are advocating for that, and we need more and more women speaking up for that, and representing women voices. And I think that patriarchy found its ways in so many ways that we can't even like see it or notice it sometimes, because it's so normalized. And I guess it's easier to see when someone is like, oh, would you sleep with me if I'll give you a job? That's easy to spot, but like there's so many other ways. So I think that we all should encourage ourselves and our friends to experiment, to be courageous, be perfect or imperfect, whatever we want, give ourselves green light to be who we really want, and I guess encourage others to do the same, and expect the world will want to put us in a box. And so for my personal journey, I think that the most peaked like through my dances. And interesting thing about it, I've been contemplating a lot about it. Lately, I've been posting even more dances, like for my new single release, and I realized that the thing that I'm getting heat for is not even that it's sexy; it's that it's imperfect. And I think that that innate spirit within us, that we all want to be like more courageous, more out there, and that expectation of perfection stops us. So when we see someone else doing it, it really triggers us. And I always think about like, what would that be if, if I would be a guy, you know, how would that be perceived if I put different cool outfits and go on the streets of New York and dance? And how it triggers people when it's a woman and it's sexy and it's playful and it's casual and it's imperfect and perfect at the same time. So there's a lot of interesting moments, and I feel like I'm on the journey right now to find its place in my life and find the compartment for it and find the courage, because I definitely feel quite vulnerable about it and shy, although it might not seem like it. But that's why I've been so strong about it, because I feel like if you have that one thing that you're so afraid of and you're so scared to go there, you have to go there. So that's what I've been doing. And I think that for women, it's just harder to do that, because for men, it's just they have other challenges, but there's just so much expectation for women. I'm not even getting into like, do your nails, do your hair, do your makeup, do your thing, and what do guys do? Like they barely can, like if they renew their socks and underwear once a year. So like there's so much expectation for women to work, to be productive, to be kind, to be, strict, to progress in work, to look good, to look hot, but not too hot, all these things. And to be, to be like the center of attention, but not too much. So you intimidate other people. That's another thing I've been contemplating. Like when a beautiful woman comes into the room, I feel like it's most likely people like don't like her, because like men don't like her because she probably will not be interested in her. This is a deep topic, but I think that there's something about women and beauty and youth and how it's been objectified and And I wish that we could just be all people and accept people the way we want to be and do not put labels. So I don't know, that's my mental scramble, but I think it's like it comes out like this because I'm myself in the process of figuring this out. And I think through engaging with the audience, through posting, through discovering myself in different light, I think I kind of finding ways of articulating it for myself as well. Yeah, but it's amazing that you do this work, and I'm very grateful that you put out such big, large in numbers work.
Thank you. Yeah. And to add to your mental scramble, as you just said, you went to Times Square and danced in public, right? Where many people would be like, "Oh my God, I mean, I would never do that. I'm too scared," or it's not what, yeah, I don't know. I'm not much of a dancer. So, wow, tell me about that experience, because that's pushing your
Yeah.
internal fear, right? To be perceived, or
Yeah, definitely. I think Times
how was
Square
that?
is a great training for artists. So when I did for the first time, I did it with a group of the dance studio. And what the teacher said when we came to, because, you know, Times Square, you barely can walk there. We talking about making a stage for ourselves. So the teacher said, you don't, in Times Square, you don't claim territory, you own territory. And it really, really stuck with me. So that was the first one. And that was like a really revolutionary, because I got so much heat. I was pretty much expelled from the Lithuanian community after that video. So, which is sad and heartbreaking, but then I wrote a new song. And I'll maybe later somewhere, when the time and place and context, I'll elaborate more on that. But that was like a really cutting edge kind of video, although it was like 20 seconds, but yeah, it really struck a chord with people. And then I'm like, whoa, this is interesting. So I did a whole music video, People of New York, with Andrew, kind of doing the same thing. So what is this about? I feel it's like really push physically, you manifesting, pushing your own boundaries. Because if you in the most saturated place where people, everything happens in Times Square, there was a Godzilla, there is a Mickey Mouse, there's Jehovah Witnesses, there's strikes for political current situations, there's everything happening at the same time in one big mix. And you have to go there in the center and create space with your own energy and movement and body, so people step out themselves. You're not going to push people, right? You can't touch people. So with your energy, you have to own the space this strongly that people pull back themselves. I found it very challenging and scary, and I'm like, wow, can I actually do this? But it's just like one of those where you like cold shower, cold plunge kind of thing. And plus it was my song. I find it easier to dance to someone else's choreography and song. But if it's my song and it's like freestyle, because People of New York was freestyling. So you like, okay, I'm moving. I'm moving. So I really wish every artist would experience that, because it's like, it's that fire that you like channel, and you like, I'm here, I'm big, I'm powerful. And people do move away and they start watching you, and you create a stage for yourself. I mean, street artists do that all the time, but I'm not a street artist. So I'm sure for street artists, it's funny what I'm saying, you know, because they regularly do that. But for me, who never done that, plus it's a dance that I'm not a professional and I'm a beginner, and it's just like finding that most tender, most painful, most vulnerable spot within us, and it's kind of like EQing, you know, you find it and you go for it. So that's what's New York Times Square dancing has been for me. So I've done it 4 times in this year. So 2 times with the dance studio and support of other artistic community, and 1 time for my music video and 1 time for my current single release. I did again solo show. So at this point, I feel like I kind of like I'm used to it. But Times Square videos triggered many people, and it triggered myself too, because I am shy and I am afraid to do it, and I am self-conscious that I'm not a dancer, but I still do it because I do feel that it makes me much stronger performer and a person. Like I overcome one more time and one more time and one more time. So it's kind of like you're just like growing a muscle, like one more artistic muscle. Yeah.
Nice. What advice would you give to aspiring women musicians who are just starting out their career?
Oh my God. These questions are really hard for me all the time, the advice, because I don't believe in advice. Because I think that when we give advices, it's still not about the other person. It's somehow related to us and our personal story. So the things that worked for me can totally not work for other people. And you actually can mislead, you know, mislead someone with your advice. So I don't know if I would have advice, but maybe there's some general thoughts like studying hard, studying the craft, learning the tradition. Um, and when the time is right, trying to put your own outlet, what you feel, following intuition, being kind to people and grateful who are around. Like these are not like something new that I made up. It's like the things we learn in school with people, with our communities. But I think that general thing that in artistic community, people who thrive and who move forward are the ones who are focusing on the community and on building community rather than a brand, and being themselves and allowing other people being themselves. Those are the people who move forward, and the ones who like have the tight energy and resentment and just like struggling with perfection. I advise them to come dance with me in Times Square.
I hear a party coming up.
Well, there's my birthday party coming, but it's in February
Oh.
9th, 2025. So please mark your calendars. It's gonna be a drum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a
Very
drum NYC. There's a advertisement moment. So Simona's birthday show, drum NYC, February 9th at 7 p.m. Bum, 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 bum.
Oh, awesome. I'd love to hear a little bit about, living in New York. How do you navigate balance between staying true to what you really want to do as an artist and, paying rent or meeting commercial expectations, doing like gigs that you might not really, right?
Yeah, I think that at this point, I feel like I found a balance through teaching. So I have a good amount of students but it's not overwhelming. So I have consistent income, but I also love the work I do, and it's musical and it helps me to stay in shape. I like all the gigs I do because I find them challenging, in many ways. Like if I do a wedding, which I don't do that much, I would love to do more, but I learned the repertoire that I've never learned. So by learning new songs, I also learn new songs that I could probably teach to my students, and my voice gets stronger and more flexible when I learn different songs that I usually wouldn't learn. I think it's healthy for musicians to push themselves in different genres and styles so they don't get stuck in their own, thing. So I starting a new thing. I've been thinking like, how else can I be a musician in New York? So I thought kanklės is such a meditative instrument. So I offered my service to a yoga studio, and we're gonna do a on September 20th at Harlem Yoga Studio will be like yoga class with me playing background music on kanklės. So like these things, creating opportunities for myself and friends for grants, and being active in the community. So I feel like financial aspect is definitely probably the hardest for us all, for artists and artist creatives. So everybody finds their own way. Unfortunately, New York doesn't, I don't find that creating your own music and living from it. I don't know anybody who does it, like just living from original music. Really, if you would find a person, tell me, because I don't know any. I feel everybody finds their own ways, either teaching or finding another day job or something. And it is what it is at this moment. And we find a way to navigate through it. So for me, it's been a combination of teaching, grants, finding different gigs, of playing on other people's projects, recording for other people's projects. Um, and what else? Well, now I have the kanklės line, so I sell instruments and sheet music books and vinyls and things like that. So I also paint, and it's my kind of like a hobby, but people do buy my paintings sometimes. So just trying to be creative and do not get scared, like when tough times come. And continue on working and doing the thing. And honestly, like, I like all creative work and musical work. I really enjoy being creative and connecting with people. Actually, I would love to get paid for attending parties. That's been like on my to-do list. Would be, you know how I bring like party to the party? Like, I start dancing and buying shots for everybody, that kind of stuff. So like, I feel like if there's a party where I feel like, oh, it might lack a little bit of energy, they should hire me. So I would like to be a party spirit paid. So that could be a side gig. Because now I do it, I'm paid, but I anyways, it's kind of like a joke with a little bit of truth.
That sounds like a great job to have, right?
Yeah, I would love to. I love going to parties and dancing, and then
I think
be
there's a
lovely to
job
get
like
paid
that.
for it.
Isn't it called proper?
What
In
is it called?
Europe, proper. In
I
Europe,
don't
it's called
know.
proper because they bring a whole gang to a club, and then the club
Oh,
pays
yeah.
this person to just lure everybody in. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I should do that.
Yeah, look into it. Maybe there's
Yeah.
agencies for it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think
So
that's a
funny.
like financial thing is, again, it's like a whole different podcast. I think that as artists, we should talk more about it. I don't know how often we share, like, how much do we charge for lesson? How
Yeah.
do we manage through like booking a gig? How do we like ground and put our boundaries with a venue or booking agents and stuff like that? Like, I feel like there should be more platform of sharing, because it's so competitive, people, not share that much, but I think it would be healthier if we share more and help out each other more, and there would be also less cracks for the people to take advantage of us, because if we all super transparent, like, the venues who are doing bad things, like, they're exposed. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of that in New York. So I think that we could have probably separate podcasts, and like, it's actually would be very meaningful to create a platform for artists to share different ways to earn money, because I think that's like, it's a painful hard topic, because we put so much work and we are the most broke.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, though it seems that you're very business minded, right? Because you seem to see yourself not only as an artist, but also as a business, or am I mistaken?
yes, definitely. I am definitely more entrepreneurial, I would say, like a typical music student or something. But I feel like, again, that's like with advice, everybody's very different, and everybody finds different ways of creating and thriving. So I don't know if I could like advise someone on that, but I think that there's nothing for free. Like, if you want interesting life and meaningful work, it's not easy. So it's
Yeah.
hard, but there's always work involved. There's no free lunch.
And then you work and you spend it all on your travels.
Oh my God, and on my
Because you have to
instruments and
tour
on
and you have to
my music
invest.
videos.
You have to print the
I know.
books and have these instruments made, so you spend upfront. and you hope
Yeah,
to get it
yeah.
back with the touring, but then
Yeah,
it's
like one
it's
of
always
reality
like a
checks.
balance. Yeah.
Like I've been in New York 6 years, but like every single show I've had for my own music so far, it's all been a loss. And when I say it to people, people like just like, what? You don't get paid for performing your music? I'm like, no, you get a cut from tickets, and it's never enough to pay musicians. So I always pay from the pocket, and plus like advertisements. Maybe you have a merch table to pay something to the person who's there, or like you have flyers and ads and blah 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 blah. So far, and I'm kind of on the edge. I'm thinking like if you don't have a grant support or someone backing you up, it's just not possible, to from tickets to be able to pay a full band, unless it's a solo show, that's different. But like for my own music, I've never made even. It's always been a loss. So all the money I could earn, I put it into shows. So guys, please come to my and my friends' shows, because that's the only way we can continue of like getting some cushion for our work.
Yeah, there's no money from streaming. You
Yeah.
better show up to the show. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. So last question. What is coming up? Things you're excited about? You already mentioned a little bit. You just had a release of your Unapologetic.
It's Unapologetic is the main of the act, and kind of like a whole scope. But the song I just released together with Maxime, who produced that track, new single that is called Can't Get Enough. So that is findable everywhere, on social media and on Spotify and everywhere. Can't Get Enough. And so now we're just kind of enjoying the release. And I think that the main thing that's happening now is it's on the Grammy consideration for your consideration, on the ballot for the best alternative music performance. So I think for the next couple of months is going to be all about the Grammy voting and Grammy season and attending events and promoting the project. And I have a little tour in Hawaii at the end of this month, going to Honolulu to perform a solo show, and then continue working and getting ready for the birthday show in February.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being a guest in my official ViviTalks podcast. Such a pleasure to hear everything about your endeavors. And I'll put all the links in the description so people can check it.
As I conclude this episode of ViviTalks, I want to express my sincere gratitude for joining me in this musical journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring the stories and experiences of the incredible female musicians on my album. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to ViviTalks on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me on social media through Vivienne, and please check out my album Type of Thing, a musical exchange featuring 100 female musicians to empower female cacao farmers of Virunga State Park in Congo. It's about more than just music. It's about making a positive impact in the world. Your support is part of that journey, so thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, keep celebrating the power of music, and let's continue to amplify the voices of remarkable women in the industry. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep the music flowing. With love and gratitude. Till soon.